Heat players have done well in the EuroBasket tournament, but will the success of Simone Fontecchio, Pelle Larsson, and Nikola Jovic translate to the upcoming Heat season? We'll break down their potential impact on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Real GM Radio, here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. David, how was your weekend?
Too short. Even for a 4-day weekend or 3-day weekend, it's still too short.
Yeah, we are recording this on Monday, so Labor Day. So we gave ourselves the Sunday off. We're recording this Monday, so it's sort of like a weekend for us. I don't know, but a lot of EuroBasket hoops, a lot of consumption there. The Hurricanes won late.
Okay,
Tonight beat Notre Dame, which was huge. Catholics won, Convicts 0. Or no, I'm sorry, Convicts won, Catholics 0. So that's always a big one for us.
Did you see those podcasters? I don't even know anything about it, but the Fighting Irish podcasters, that they were like just really trashing the University of Miami players. And I mean, it's a pretty really derogatory, maybe even borderline racist remarks there, or not so borderline, but I don't want to besmirch other podcasters, but it just shows you the power of a media, and the players were all aware of it too. They were all well aware of it, and they used that bulletin board material. So that was pretty interesting, and they were fired up. You could see it. I don't know if Miami's turned around. I've been led this way before, but it was still a good win.
What are the chances that it's not actually Notre Dame podcasters, like fans that are what if it was Miami fans pretending to be Notre Dame just to provide the bulletin board? Because that is the version of what happened in the 80s, right? Like where
these guys are too pasty to be Miamians. I'm sorry, they're not.
You know what? That's a great point. If it was on YouTube, it's on video, maybe you can tell. Maybe you can tell. We do have a jam-packed show for you guys today. We've got big performances from Heat players at EuroBasket. Plus, we'll talk about a lineup that could maximize Nico's skill set in a second. But first, we need to talk about Simone Fontecchio. Big day for him at EuroBasket. David, 39 points in Italy's win on Sunday. He goes 7 of 10 from three-point range. He also had 8 rebounds and 3 assists in 37 minutes. Fontecchio has broken Italy's all-time EuroBasket scoring record. 39 points over the weekend breaks the previous record set by Andrea Bargnani in 2011 of 36 points. Danilo Gallinari is on this list. In 2015, he had 33 points. And Antonello Riva had, in the 80s, 33 points in one game and 32 points in another game in a different summer. That is, in Italian hoops, some great company for Fontecchio to be on. Look, I know it was against Bosnia, but David, I'm getting excited for big tech here.
Oh man, I'm not there yet. I can't be there. Look, I don't want to spoil it. I just think that EuroBasket is so much more different than the NBA, and it's not that this necessarily can't translate. I think it can. I just think that the chemistry between these teams is so different, and I don't know. I don't mean to say that in the NBA players tend to play somewhat selfishly or for individual goals or things of that sort, but you can see the difference. Like, it just doesn't feel as connected a unit, whereas you see these teams playing at the international stage, and you can tell right away that they're playing for something bigger, and that they're all playing much more connectedly than NBA teams typically do. So having said that, Fontecchio, I think, has a lot of potential. We've talked about Miami's depth before. The problem will be not whether or not he can score, because we all know that he's capable of doing so, but whether or not he can play defense at a high enough level to earn Eric Spoelstra's trust. And that's where I think his biggest challenge will come in training camp, is that he has to be able to prove to Spoelstra and the coaching staff that he can defend at a high level, and that he'll do the work, whatever is required of him, and then he'll earn the playing time necessary, because he might be Miami's or one of Miami's best shooters almost
Mhm.
immediately on this team. So I think he certainly feels a need with the loss of Duncan Robinson. You're going to need to get that production from beyond the arc by someone, and Fontecchio seems like a very likely person to take over that responsibility.
He does, at least in EuroBasket, some of that movement shooter stuff too. Because really, when we're talking about Duncan Robinson's value as a shooter, it's
Yeah,
more than just standing in the corner and making jump shots, right? It's
right.
it's off the catch, off the dribble handoff stuff, the floppy actions coming up from the baseline, just from all over the different spots along the arc. He is a dynamic 3-point shooter, and Fontecchio isn't as high usage as Duncan Robinson has been over Duncan's career in
Mhm.
Miami. Like he was buried on the bench in Detroit. Didn't really play a whole lot last year. It was kind of a down season for him. He ends up getting traded to Miami in the sign trade that sends Duncan over to Detroit. But watching him play a high usage role, like he is a featured player starting and closing games for Italy right now, and rightfully so.
Right.
I don't know that he'll ever take 10 threes in a game for the Heat, right? But that's not really the point. I don't expect him to score 39 points in a game for Miami. But what I like is seeing what he's capable of in these games. And he is capable of the movement shooting stuff. And you know what the other thing is? You mentioned the defense. He's hustling out there defensively.
He is.
Now, it's
He is.
way easier to stay in front of 5 Bosnians than it is 5 NBA players.
Yes.
But he's at least doing he's out there in transition. He's sprinting, he's playing hard. And I bet part of him is like, I'm a Miami Heat now. I gotta play like a Miami Heat as well as play like an Italian player for my national team. And I think he's kind of putting all the things together, which is why he's been so impactful.
That's a good point. I think he does recognize that. Like he talked about defenses at an introductory press conference. Like
Yeah.
he said that back in the Utah Jazz days, he was often guarding the team's best player, the opponent team's best player. And I don't know if I can recall that necessarily, but I'll take his word for it. I'd like to see it. And he spoke so highly. I remember we talked about it. We broke down the press conference, and the way he talked about the team work ethic, the mentality, the approach to playing hard-nosed, gritty basketball, etc. It seems like he understood the core values of what makes this team so stand out the way they do, and I think he's willing to embrace that challenge. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that evolution and growth in the EuroBasket. So I think that is an impressive sign from him. It's just I would love to be able to see this kind of effort and that shooting and a
Mhm.
total package too. Do you concern? My concern also is, and I want to know if you are similarly concerned. We saw Duncan have to diversify his game a little bit because he couldn't just rely on a 3-point shot. It was kind of taken from him
Mhm.
at times. Do you think Fontecchio has enough of a bag where he can change things up a little bit to not just relying on the
He had a
3-point shot?
baseline dunk in that game, man. Why not? I have no. I kind of like Fontecchio, and by the way, I always liked him when he was in Detroit, and I was really
Sure.
excited when he got here in Miami. But it's a great question. It's a very fair question. The difference, I guess, would be Duncan needed to expand because of injuries and because he was sort of thrust into more of a ball handling role at times, especially 2 years ago, where a lot of things got to go the wrong way for Fontecchio to be asked to do anything like Duncan was asked to do
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. And so hopefully he's allowed to just be sort of that 3-point specialist who can attack a closeout and occasionally maybe yam it on a dude. Let's talk about Pelle Larsson, though, because the last time we talked about him, he struggled in one of Sweden's earlier games. But since then, he's been a lot better, David.
Yeah.
I know we're watching the box scores here. A lot of these games you can find him on replay, even though some of them are early. But in this last one on Monday morning, he led Sweden 28 points in a loss to Montenegro on Monday morning. He was 10 of 20 overall, 3 of 9 on threes, and just 1 foul in this game, which is something that you and I have been keeping our eye on. He is their best player right now, and I love seeing him in sort of this featured role here.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. We're talking about Fontecchio and Larson, guys that might be 9th, 10th on the roster in
Mhm.
Miami, and yet they're featured players for their individual countries, and that's one of the things that it should bring joy to any basketball fan's face because it's amazing to see these guys get these opportunities and in some cases make the most of it. And I think Pelle's doing a great job of that. We never have to concern ourselves with Pelle's effort. It's always been there. It's why a lot of people are such believers in him and why he became a fan favorite his rookie season last year. At the same time, he just needs to tie it all together. It needs to be more consistent, and the effort has to be there in his 3-point shooting. Like we need to see actual production from him from beyond the arc too, because his game is just not strong enough in the paint where he can make that sort of an impact and earn regular minutes. But there's so many different challenges, and when you look at this roster, and again, we keep talking about the team's depth, it might be one of their greatest strengths because they don't have that superstar talent, but they've got really good, solid, productive players 1 through 10. And that being the case, it's going to be quite the battle in training camp. I'm expecting Eric Spoelstra from day one to talk about how competitive this group is, et cetera. He always, one of the things I love about Spo is he always says about training camp, each camp is like an organism and it has its own identity, its own way of describing it. And I'm curious to see what he calls this camp in particular, because I think it's going to be one of those really, it's going to be interesting. Without the shadow of Jimmy Butler and with so many players competing for playing time, it kind of feels like a reinvigorated approach to the season. And I think a lot of players are going to have that same mentality.
We can call it a new beginning. I'll call it important, right? Like there's a lot of things that we can call this training camp. In other EuroBasket news, Nikola Jovic plays later this afternoon, Monday, 2:15 Eastern time. So we're going to watch that and talk about that tomorrow. We'll also hold our conversation about that interesting Nico lineup for tomorrow's episode as well. We're sticking with EuroBasket. Nikola Jovic, we'll talk about that as tomorrow, as well as if he's finally making a leap. So all of that coming up on tomorrow's episode, but coming up next, 25 of 25 continues.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And if there's something that you're saving up for, one of the things that I've found with Monarch Money is that it really helps you identify where your money is being mismanaged in some cases, whether you're spending too much on one thing or the other, and they'll obviously be able to identify where that money is being used so that you can save up for that big purchase that you've been dreaming of, whether it might be paying for college, paying for a new car, paying for a new house, whatever your goals are. Monarch Money will help you reach those faster. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising to make it more valuable to you. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. This is our 25 of 25 series, looking back at the top 25 Heat players of the last 25 seasons. Each episode, we'll be taking an in-depth look at every player who made the list, as voted on by us and our Locked On Heat Insider community, through the lens of what made them a definitive part of the franchise's history. On our last episode, we talked about our most controversial rankings so far, I think at least, David, with Tim Hardaway checking in at 18. Controversial because he only played one season within the top 25 parameters, because those are the rules that we had. Some people still didn't get it, David, but
they still don't get it. This is not an all-time list. We're not including Ronnie Cycli. We're not including Sherman Douglas or any of those players. This is basically from the year 2000 on, the last 25 years, okay?
Them's the rules. Sorry, people. We should have just eliminated Tim Hardaway. It just wouldn't have made sense, but whatever. That's what it is.
Never.
Let's move on to 17, though. We're talking about the Celtic turned Heat, the Game 6 hero, Jesus Shuttleworth himself. It is Ray Allen. Ray Allen. He joined the Heat in the summer of 2012 after leaving the Celtics in free agency, a move that shocked the NBA at the time. He turned down a reportedly more lucrative offer from Boston in order to leave the Celtics and join forces with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh in Miami. His decision was particularly notable given the Heat and the Celtics' fierce playoff battles in the previous years, which made his arrival in Miami even more dramatic. Allen's most memorable moment with the Heat came during the 2013 NBA Finals against the Spurs in Game 6, with the Heat facing elimination down 3 in the final seconds. Ray Allen hit, in my opinion, the most iconic shot in NBA Finals history. A corner three that tied the game and forced overtime. Miami went on to win the game, then the series in 7 games, capturing back-to-back championships. That shot not only solidified Ray Allen's place in Heat lore, but also changed the trajectory of the Big Three era, something that we'll touch on a little bit more here in a second. Beyond that moment, though, Ray Allen was a critical piece of Miami's rotation. He served as the team's 6th man. He provided elite perimeter shooting, floor spacing, and very important veteran leadership. His conditioning and his professionalism set a standard in the locker room, and his ability to punish defenses for collapsing on LeBron and Dwayne Wade was vital to Miami's offensive success. He averaged around 10 points per game in his 2 seasons with the Heat and became their all-time leader in career three-point shooting percentage. After the Heat's 2014 finals loss to the Spurs, Ray Allen opted not to re-sign with the Heat or with anybody else, effectively retiring from the league. While his stint in Miami was brief, Allen's clutch heroics and leadership played a defining role in extending the Heat's dynasty and securing one of the most memorable championships in NBA history. David, when you think about Ray Allen's time in Miami, the shot has to be the number one thing that you think about, no?
Without a doubt. We've talked about it before. I wrote about it. I think we even at one point discussed like the possibility of a book based on that, because I don't think people realize just the ripple effects of that shot. Like if Ray doesn't hit that shot almost right away, obviously the Big Three is blown up. Like the experiment comes to a close. Chris Bosh is likely traded for whom? I don't know, maybe Dwight Howard. That seemed like a possibility at the time. But they move on from the Big Three era, and all of a sudden this team that had such high expectations was only able to accomplish 1 championship in 3 years. But then not only did Ray Allen's shot, if he doesn't hit that, obviously Miami's impacted greatly, but his hitting this shot wound up leading the Spurs to completely revamp their offense in a way that changed the NBA. And I think we've seen more teams play along that style because of the Spurs changing the way that they approach. And we saw that next season where their passing, their emphasis on 3-point quality, these things made such a significant difference in the whole landscape of the NBA. And I don't know that they implement that style if they win 2013. So
right, they're not as motivated, not as angry, right?
Absolutely. No need to change it if it already works. So there were just a lot. I remember there was a piece for Fanside, the butterfly effect, and on and on and on. There were just so many different things that Ray's shot altered over the course of the NBA landscape, and I think we're still feeling repercussions of it today. So that shot, a pivotal moment in NBA history, not just Heat history.
No question. Like I said, it's the biggest shot in NBA Finals history. I put it up against anything that Jordan did, Utah, whatever. I put it up against Kyrie's shot in 2016, which was also phenomenal shots, great shots, but everything that you mentioned, everything that was on the line there, it was pass fail, right? Like that was sort of the grading system at that point. There was no A, B, C, D. It was pass fail, and that shot, it passed the Big Three test, right? That's what it did. In terms of everything else, I mean, just him coming over from Boston, leaving the Celtics, like the beef between him and Rondo and Kevin Garnett there for a little bit. That stuff was awesome. It just added to the villainousness of the Heat Big Three, right? It was a couple of years. They won, right? They beat OKC in 2012. They weren't as much the villain anymore as they were in 2011, right? LeBron had the MVPs, 2 straight MVPs. Like we were like, oh, okay, like we kind of like this team again. LeBron went from trying to embrace the villain role to going back to being fun, and that team ended up just being so spectacularly fun. Like the 27-game win streak, all this stuff. They ended up getting back in kind of good graces, and then Ray Allen comes back to Miami, and we're like, yeah, twist the knife a little bit more. We're still the villains. We're still going to steal your favorite players. I thought that was really cool too.
Absolutely.
In terms of where Ray Allen ranked on our final list here, the highest that he was voted was 7 on our ranking. Just a reminder, he's comes in here at 17. So somebody had him 10 spots higher. One of our Locked On Heat insiders had him at 7. The lowest was not ranked at all. I had him at 15. David, you did not have him ranked. Why not?
I think it was a glorious oversight on my part, to be honest with you. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
thinking about it now. No, I think I may have just made a mistake there. Look, I
I love that.
at
You're
the
like
time
the
where we
Joe
put
Bluth.
it,
I've made a huge mistake.
yeah, I made a huge mistake. Yeah, it was just I looked at the 2 years and it felt a little different. We're looking at all of the other players that we've kind of put together in this list, and guys like a Caron Butler. He only played 2 seasons for Miami, but he was more productive than Ray.
From a
And so
statistical standpoint, right?
yes, but he was also quote unquote homegrown product because you drafted him and you developed him and you took the time. And yes, he was also part of the trade to acquire Shaquille O'Neal. So all that is kind of tied into it. He's also returned as an assistant coach. I think that certainly helps cement his legacy among Heat fans. But Ray's 2 years in Miami, as successful as they were kind of mercenarial. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he ever wanted to join Miami so much as he wanted to stick it to Boston. And I think
Right.
he kind of realized that Miami was just probably in a better position, especially with him on the roster, of securing another championship to add
For
to
the
his.
record, I'm okay with that. Join us out of spite. I'm Team Petty. Like, I have no problem what the motivation is,
Yeah.
as long as you're here making shots for this team. I don't care.
Put 15 Larry Davids on that team. We wanted as much spite as possible.
Yes. Spite is a strong motivator. I'm fine
and it
with
certainly was with him. It certainly was with him.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. That to me, I was just thinking of Ray and his tenure here in Miami, and it just was already like he was such an accomplished player, and while he was obviously towards the tail end of his career, still such a consummate professional. And we know all the stories about him training with incredible purpose and intensity. He said it before that he has some kind of OCD about things and the way he approaches. He has to be very detail oriented and focused on doing these things. He has a particular way of doing them, and that's not going to change. I know after the fact that he's talked about having some kind of strife also with Eric Spoelstra, and that kind of made it a little difficult to kind of put him in there in the pantheon of Heat greats even over the last 25 years. But I don't know. It was just it didn't feel. I don't feel the same connection to Ray as I do
That's
to
fair.
other Heat players on the list.
That's
He
fair. I
just-
feel more connection to the shot itself, but to Ray Allen as the
fair.
person, it's weird, right?
Right.
It's a weird sort of dynamic there, but there are obviously people that just disagree and feel a very strong connection. The person that voted him 7 obviously feels that very strong connection. And it's one thing to the short stint of production itself. It wasn't his best seasons, obviously. Like those came in Milwaukee and then in Boston and stuff like that, but in Seattle.
Yeah.
But it was his importance to the team. I thought kind of his stats didn't do service. Like I talked about the spacing that spacing next to LeBron and Dwayne Wade also changed the way that the NBA was played, right? Just to have that floor spacer out there all the time. He wasn't a starter. He was a six-man. He closed a lot of games in Mario Chalmers' place too and made a lot of big shots down the stretch. But he comes in here at 17. David already admitted he made a mistake there. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Coming up next, trivia time. That's next year on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's almost here. Week 1's right around the corner. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love using FanDuel. It's just however you like to bet, it fits what you're looking for, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting. Listen, the season's going to be a big one for Miami. Expect big things, and you can go and look at that and different ways to win via FanDuel. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Ray Allen trivia. Are you ready, David?
No, I'm not. Let's do it.
Okay. We got 3 trivia questions. Start with this one. I think this is the easiest one of the 3. Ray Allen led the Heat in total 3-pointers made across his 2 seasons combined. Okay, so we're adding both seasons. He led the team in 3-pointers across those 2 seasons. Who made the second most threes during that span? So it's from 2013, the 2012-2013 season and the 2013-2014 season combined.
We're going on a limb, but I think you mentioned it. Mario Chalmers?
It's not. It's close. I'll give you one more hint for a half point. Or I'll give you one more chance, rather, for a half point.
Norris Cole?
It's LeBron James.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense. But yeah, you never really think of LeBron taking as many threes, but obviously even by that point he had been taking.
It was at that point that he started
It's really off with it. That's
more.
Close. Yeah,
Right.
That's close. Like I don't know how you make it close. I guess only you might think Mario Chalmers and LeBron James are somewhere close. But yes,
Chalmers was only a few behind LeBron, so that wasn't a bad guess. Right. Next question here. Ray Allen retired after the 2014 finals, which team reportedly tried to recruit him the following season, though he never signed there?
Ooh. Cleveland Cavaliers?
That's right. It was Cleveland. LeBron tried to bring him back with him in 2014. He retired. Tried to make a brief comeback a couple of years later. Didn't really work out. So that essentially, he never played in the NBA again. So that was really his retirement in 2014. Last one here. Everybody remembers Ray Allen for his heroics to tie the game at the end of Game 6 against the Spurs in the 2013 finals and force a Game 7. How many threes did he make across the final two games of that series that the Heat ultimately won? So how many threes did he make in Game 6 and Game 7 combined, in other words?
One. Just the one, the shot?
It was one. It was just one. Isn't that crazy?
That is. Biggest shot in history, in NBA history, or one of the biggest shots in NBA history, and that's the only three-pointer that you hit over the last two games. I mean,
he did not play well in the last two games.
It's just that shot is just amazing because not only does everybody kind of forget, it tied the game. You still had to go to overtime to win it, and that was just a fight for a Game 7, and even that was a very low-scoring bloodbath. Like the offenses were not as finely tuned as they are in today's game. It was a really interesting matchup there, and yeah, he wasn't productive at all. Like he just didn't. He struggled in that last game there. So
he was incredible. 1 for 5 in the last two games combined.
Wow.
Game 7, the final score, people were about 95-88. It was very low scoring. So it wasn't just him. That was such a slog, that whole series, that by Game 7, both of those teams were just so worn down. It doesn't suggest that it was a well-played game. It really was an entertaining game just to see both of those teams just sort of lay it all out there. Just literally just, hey, this is it.
Tim Duncan missing bunnies.
Kawhi missing free throws at the end of Game 6. Tim Duncan missing bunnies. It was crazy.
It really was. But, Miami found a way to prevail. LeBron had a pretty good game. I don't remember Dwayne being all that productive, to be honest with you, like a non-factor, but maybe I'm misremembering it.
So LeBron had 37 points. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
At 52% shooting, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals.
Solid.
You remember that was a big Mario Chalmers game?
Yeah.
14 points. D-Wade had 23 points on 52% shooting, so he was great. I think what you might be remembering, Bosch was 0 for 5 in Game 7.
Okay. That I remember that too.
Big goose egg in Game 7. So,
but he did.
Shane Battier came off the bench, had 18 points.
That's huge.
6 of 8 from 3-point range.
Yeah.
LeBron was 5 of 10 from 3-point range. Wow. I want to go back and watch that game. That sounds like a lot of fun. Let's get to our categories here. Recurring segments. Sliding doors is the first one. This is a moment that could have changed the way this player is remembered for better or for worse. We basically already talked about it, David. I do want to throw it at you at a slightly different angle. What if the shot doesn't go in? You did a great job sort of outlining what this means to NBA history. We don't talk a lot about what it means for Ray Allen, though. And that's really what the spirit of this exercise is.
Yeah.
And for Ray, it is the shot he's known for. That is his shot. That is the swan song. That is the ultimate. That's everything. It's not his best season. You don't think about Ray Allen in a Miami Heat jersey when you think about Ray Allen in his career, but you do think about that shot as sort of the capstone moment of his career. And I think if it doesn't go in, then he goes 0 for 6 in the final two games of the first year he's there in Miami. in a series where he was desperately needed.
Yeah.
And I don't think, even though he had won a championship in Boston, Ray Allen right now is thought about as sort of this ultimate professional, a winner. I don't know that he is. If that shot doesn't go in, instead, he might not be known as a winner. He might be more known as, I hate to say it, maybe a quitter. Because early in his career, it wasn't always his fault, but never got over the hump in Milwaukee, never got over the hump in Seattle. Does have to team up with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce in Boston to win the one championship. But even remember, Boston, the fact that they only won the one was a disappointment. So then he quits on Boston to join Miami. And if he doesn't make that shot, it kind of might feel like, what was the burning of the bridges even really for?
Right. I can imagine Celtics fans hating so much watching that shot, because it's like, oh, there he goes hitting that big shot for that. They should have been hitting it for us, that kind of thing. And it was just like,
Yep.
So much vitriol that year. Kevin Garnett, like Rondo still can't quash his beef with Ray. I don't know why. That was pretty.
Rondo
personal.
seems like a guy that holds on to grudges.
Mm-hmm. Takes it very personally there.
Yeah.
But it was just that's an interesting question, that without that shot, like how he's viewed. I don't know that he's I don't know that he's remembered. Like, does he? He probably still makes the Hall of Fame, but I think it would be more debatable even.
Yeah.
Like, does he really earn his place
Great
in
call.
there? Like, I think that's part of it. And I think, again, you probably don't even remember him. He's Michael Redd, a skinnier Michael Redd that started a Spike Lee movie, basically. And that's a disservice to the great career he had. But I think without that shot, you remove it from the context of his career, and he's just a much less memorable player, despite winning a championship. He was the third best player, and maybe even the fourth best player on that 2008 championship team, because Rondo did excel in the point guard role. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, he's not really viewed like he forced a trade from Milwaukee. Like, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Milwaukee trade him to Seattle to get an older Gary Payton? Like, that's how much they wanted him out of Milwaukee. I mean, to get that kind of player.
Yep.
I know George Karl was coaching the Bucks at the time, but I mean, that just kind of shows you, it's like he was just maybe a high calorie scorer at that point, not really known for much else. And so
there was a little bit of a Vince Carter potential to his career.
Yep.
A lot of flash, no real resume to speak of. Right? Like with Vince Carter, people talk about like, oh, he has to be in the Hall of Fame, like the dunk contest. I was like, we're starting at dunk contest.
Like, I feel like you should have a couple.
You should have other things on your resume. Like dunk contest should be like the third or the fourth bullet point. Nobody ever dunk contested their way into the Hall of Fame. And with Ray Allen, it might be a little bit similar, where it's like, that movie was pretty good.
It was.
It was a good movie. All right. Is this we're gonna ask, is he jersey worthy? Is this a cool jersey to own and wear to a Heat game? So I'm gonna go no on this.
Same.
But I will, with the caveat of the Heat have these really cool T-shirts that capture like the moments, right? Where they have like that one, you've seen it, like Dwayne Wade on the stanchion or on the scores table rather. You got like bloody Udonis Haslem, and there is one of the Ray Allen shot. If you have that shirt, that's cool. The jersey itself, I don't know that I'd spend your money on it. Monarch money would not advise on that.
It's just, again, the same thing. Like Ray, the person, just wasn't somebody that kind of connected with the Heat, and that's fine. Like, that's not a knock on him in any way. He just wasn't like even on a team that seemed like they had incredible chemistry. He wasn't the most vocal. He went and did his job, and he performed it well for 2 years. But I don't think it was ever about him really making a connection with fans.
It was a little Kyle Lowry-esque.
No, I don't even know about that. It was a little, because he was so much better than Lowry was in the
that's
2.5 year stint.
It just felt like he never really, even though he's beloved in other places, never really connected with the fan base here.
Where is Ray beloved? It's not Boston. It's not Seattle. It's not Milwaukee.
I think Boston fans still appreciate Ray. I think it's just the team that was turned off. I think at this point, they probably, because they only won the one championship with him on the roster. I think they appreciate him, and It depends. If you're like an older Milwaukee fan, I think I don't know. You might be right. You might be right. The Eddie Jones test, does he pass it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Even the Ray Allen that Miami had, not the best version, but just that guy that was shooting 40% from three at a high volume. Yeah, I'll take that on this roster.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, one of the best shooters. Just a great jumper. Amazing, really good player. And so that's another thing too. I just couldn't separate the fact that I did this with Hardaway, and maybe it was not the right approach, but Hardaway's prime in Miami, even though it took place outside the window of what we did, it was still a Miami player, and he added so much of an identity to this team. And Ray kind of was like, you know what? The big three had just won a championship in 2012 over the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then he decides to leave Boston out of spite. Totally fine. And then he joins Miami, but it's like we don't consider Rashard Lewis like in the same light. And I know that's not fair to Rashard, but he also didn't hit Game 6 shot. I get it, but it's also like, good players joining a good team. Nowadays, I think there's more of a stigma attached to that. Oh, ring chasing, etc. And I don't know how much of that was prevalent in 2013, but clearly Ray had a goal in mind to join this team and to compete for a championship. And so I don't know, it takes away a little of the luster of his overall career.
Final one versus pin this player against the player who came before him and asked, did we get it right? The player before him was Tim Hardaway. I did not have Tim Hardaway ranked because, again, within the parameters of our game here, he played just the one season that counts. And so I didn't have Tim Hardaway ranked because he accomplished nothing in that 1 year that he was really here.
Wow.
It was rather forgettable. I mean, we talked about it, but I have Ray Allen 15 on my list. So I think we did get it right in this instance.
I'm going to agree, even though I made the mistake of not including it in my overall list. It's just, I don't know. Couldn't separate all those other extenuating factors. Maybe that was a mistake. No, it wasn't. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But I can't rectify that now. But you know what? I'm glad he
respect it though. Support. You're admitting your mistakes. I admitted that I probably should have snuck Tim Hardaway in at the end of my list just for vibes anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the use out of doing this exercise.
I look at my list, and I mean, there are names that had longer stints in Miami, but maybe not as memorable. Again, that shot, it was so impactful, and such a pivotal moment. It's hard to separate his 2 years. But I remember him playing good, productive minutes when Dwayne was on his maintenance program. It was Ray to the rescue. He was doing really good things in 2014.
Do you remember when LeBron went through that free throw funk? Ray Allen was the one who helped him out. His impact on that team went way beyond the 2 years that he spent here and these modest stat lines in the box score. His impact was huge. There's no doubt he's got to be on this list. I had him higher.
I had totally forgotten about that, but I remember the quote at the time was LeBron was willing to take Ray's teaching, even though he never took teaching from anybody else, because it's Ray freaking Allen, and you're going to listen to the best shooter in NBA history, or one of the best shooters in NBA history at that point in time. And so that really resonated with me, is that Ray had that kind of pull. And I remember him talking about the locker room too. As much as he maybe felt that divide between him and Spoelstra and the coaching staff, that locker room had great vibes. I'm not just talking about the Harlem Shuffle, but even the fact that this guy was a quote unquote mercenary and was joining the team towards the tail end of his career. Those guys generally did get along really, really well and believed in one another and were very supportive, which is almost more of a shame that 2014 ended the way it did, because it would have been nice to ride off into the sunset with yet another championship ring.
I think people are going to be really surprised by who we have tomorrow at number 16. I know I don't agree with it.
Good
but
geez.
Well, we're going to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for making. And by the way, it's Harlem Shake, not Harlem Shuffle. I couldn't let you get away with that.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. For your second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no offseason. I'm actually hosting this week with Matt and Hayes to keep you guys up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. So find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to the podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.